use.
All right, let's talk some more about marijuana. Lots going on. There's the court case. There's the march towards legalization from the federal Liberals. Joining us now from Shaw Tower is Jodie Emery. Hi, Jodie. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for taking the time. I know you were in Ottawa yesterday. You must be sleep deprived.
I just flew in this morning, yeah.
We just ran a story. The Surrey Fire Chief is concerned about people growing pot at their own homes. Safety concerns. A lot of people who are doing this aren't doing it very safely. Is that something we should be legitimately concerned about?
We haven't really seen any problems from medical marijuana being produced in people's homes. Occasionally, there might be some sort of electrical issue, but we know that kitchen fires happen far more regularly, so grow-ops aren't much of a concern, and it's really keeping them underground and illegal and unregulated that creates the problems. If they're allowed to be legally done, most patients do not want a fire, they don't want any problems, they want perfect clean medicine, and they work very hard to make sure their gardens are safe.
So that's the issue, is just the fact that it's underground right now, and if it comes out into the light, you're hopeful that more people will follow along with city fire codes and those sorts of things?
Well, most people would love to grow pot outdoors in the sun. It's just a beautiful plant that can be grown in many different ways. And some patients might want to grow it in their own home, where it's tucked away and contained, where they can control the environment and make sure that nobody outside can get access to it. Because marijuana is still illegal, there is still a value to it. So for many patients, they might be concerned about their safety in growing marijuana, not because the marijuana is unsafe, but because the law means the pot is profitable and there might be grow roots or something like that. We haven't really seen much of that lately, though, especially in recent years. Most patients have grown safely without any problems, and that's what the judge determined in this case, that there was really no legitimate basis for denying the right of patients to grow their own.
It is still illegal, as Bill Blair pointed out yesterday, and police are going to have to continue to do their jobs in the meantime until the legalization winds its way through Parliament. I know you're a critic of that, as is Tom Mulcair. Should decriminalization be on the table now?
Absolutely. It doesn't make any sense for peaceful Canadian adults today to be arrested for pot possession when the government is pushing them to buy it legally a year or more from now. And that's also a lot of money being wasted. For the Canadians out there who don't smoke pot and don't really care about it, I'm pretty sure they care about hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on marijuana law enforcement, which should towards healthcare. You know, in British Columbia, every year, $10 million gets spent on pot possession charges. That's just possession. Imagine what we could do with that money. So we need to stop arresting peaceful Canadians, because when Canadians get arrested for pot, they can lose their job, their home, their kids, their ability to travel. There's a lot of harm done by arresting people for simple possession. This government said that they would stop punishing people, and they really need to follow through on that. They can take their time to figure out the details about who gets to grow it and where it gets sold. But in the meantime, every 9 minutes, a Canadian has an encounter with a police officer for pot. That's a waste of money and resources when we desperately need to be more fiscally responsible across this country.
You talk about details. I know the police chiefs of Canada are also concerned about the details, and that hasn't been set down. Are the Liberals moving fast enough on this file?
Well, it's kind of strange that the Liberals voted for legalization at their January 2012 convention. They've been looking at this, they have policy papers. We have a lot of years of research and experience to look at. So I don't understand why they're dragging their heels. Although it does make sense to be prudent and cautious when they're setting an example that the whole world is looking to. But again, in the meantime, not one more Canadian should be arrested for pot. It's an unjust law. It needs to be stopped. We have to save that money and spend it elsewhere and protect our fellow Canadians who aren't hurting anyone else. And let me remind the viewers that marijuana legalization would not be a topic today if not for the peaceful law-breaking of patients and dispensaries and activists in decades prior. It's only through getting arrested, getting charged, and going to court that the laws have been changed in this country. So we need to respect those activists and patients who sacrifice so much and give amnesty to those who have been charged in the past, over 2 million Canadians since 1965, and give a moratorium on marijuana arrests while we figure out the details about where people can legally buy it.
How do you think people should be able to legally buy it? I mean, there's lots of ideas out there in liquor stores. London Drugs came out yesterday and said they would be willing to at least look at filling prescriptions if it was for cannabis. How do you think we should sell it?
Well, we have two different topics here. There's medical and there's recreational. Now, most use out there is probably recreational, and that should be available similar to Amsterdam. You can go to a specific shop, you can buy it, you can consume it, or you can go and get it from your friend who grows it in their garden. That would be ideal. It should be like any other herb you can buy. But when it comes to patients, a lot of them want a standardized, very sterile medical product, and that should be available to them in many different options. I think the free market is really important here. We need people to be able to have as many options as possible, because if you try and restrict it, that was the goal of prohibition, and it sure didn't work. So we need to make sure there's very affordable access for everybody who needs to get it.
But Jodie, it'll still be a controlled substance, though. I mean, going down the street to my friend's still to get a drink is not on the table. It shouldn't be on the table for pot, though, either, should it?
Well, let's look at alcohol as an example. Right now, you have giant corporations like Molson producing huge amounts of alcohol being consumed, but we also have room for craft breweries. A lot of jobs are being created out of this craft brewery boom, and we're allowing people to participate in that industry because they should be allowed to. They can also go and brew their own beer or brew their own wine, and they can go to their neighbor's house and share some of their home brew with their neighbors. If they want to sell it, well, they should probably get a license and go through the proper protocol. But the point is, alcohol is available all over in restaurants, it's advertised endlessly, and it's a dangerous, deadly substance. Marijuana is a safer choice and should be just as available. And I know it's probably going to take some time in campaigning to get that out there in the public, but right now, as the government talks about legalization, we have to make sure there's no monopoly or oligopoly, and everybody who built this industry has to be allowed to participate in it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when it comes down, because there will be winners and losers when the government decides how it's all going to come down, aren't there?
Yep, just like any business, we're going to see some people profit, some people will suffer, but that's what a really true, free, fair market is about.
Jodie, we have to leave it there. We're right up against the clock. Always great to chat with you. Thank you so much. Jodie Emery, pot advocate, talking to us today from Shawtown.
Thanks a lot.
Meanwhile,